Hello everybody, it's me, Corbin, and I want to talk about this video that I just want to talk about why I don't agree with it, and also my complaints about it. I think it could have done better. It doesn't have to agree with my opinion, I just think the video could have done better, because I think this video gives bad examples, and the video is called Why the Elder Scrolls Will Always Be Better Than Fallout. I think they should have done it more like a versus. Like, this is reasons why Fallout may be better, this is reasons why Elder Scrolls may be better. And they gave examples for both. And then the winner could have been Elder Scrolls. But calling it Why the Elder Scrolls Will Always Be Better Than Fallout is a really aggravating title, I would say. I don't like that title. But it's clearly going out of its way to, like, it says, oh, if you like Fallout more, it's okay. But, like, clearly with that title, you're going out to offend.
Hello, angry nerds that have seen my title. I'm Ash, and I'm here today to talk to you about all things Bethesda, and more specifically, how the company now has two flagship franchises under its belt, evenly split between Fallout and the Elder Scrolls. It has got me wondering as to which deserves more motherly, tender loving in the coming years, since neither has a really solidly confirmed installment in their storyline basis for a good long time yet. We've got Elder Scrolls 6 on the way, but who knows when we're ever going to get that? Huh. The company will surely nurture both, but truthfully,
I always think it's kind of weird when people talk about, oh, I gotta wait this long for this game. Like, now Fallout, we're gonna have to wait a really long time for the next Fallout game. But it doesn't matter, because there's already tons of Fallout games. I can just replay. They have so much replayability that I don't really care when the next Fallout game comes out. I don't care if another Fallout game ever comes out, because I already got ones I know I like. I don't really need anything more, but it would be cool to have more. It's nice to get more added, but I mean, it's Fallout altogether. Like, if you put all the games together, I think it's so much content. And there's still stuff I haven't seen in Fallout 3. There's still stuff I haven't seen in New Vegas. There's still things I haven't seen in Fallout 4, and I've played those games so much. But there's still so much I haven't seen. Same with Elder Scrolls. I don't know a lot about Elder Scrolls. I've played Skyrim maybe 3 times. I've beaten Skyrim 3 times. I've done some of the side missions in Skyrim. I know more about the Skyrim mods than I do the actual game. I like messing with Skyrim's mods. I've played a little bit of Morrowind. Don't understand it at all. I've gotten halfway through Oblivion. I think that's a good game. But yeah. But overall, there's so much content in those games, I don't really care when the next one comes out. And I don't know why I'm going on this. This is just the beginning. She hasn't even talked about any of her reasons against Fallout.
which deserves all the hype, and which is starting to show its age. I'm Ash from Whatculture, as I think I've mentioned, and this is why the Elder Scrolls will always be better than Fallout. Please don't kill me. Fallout and Elder Scrolls have long since been two sides of the same RPG coin, which you wouldn't necessarily expect from sprawling high fantasy and nuclear science fiction, but both have a lot of technical blood running through their veins from the same fountain. The same fountain of blood. That's a common analogy. Yes, both Fallout 4 and Skyrim use the same creation engine, which I'm sure you already know, to bring their gameplay even closer than ever. There's a wealth of experiences to be had in both games, but for someone that's never really been able to connect with the wastelands of Fallout, it really seems to me like they're putting off a more unique and interesting game for the sake of more sickly radiation-burned landscapes. And Fallout 76 isn't even what the fans have been asking for as the nougat cherry on the cake. The Fallout games are in no way bad, but they quite literally pale in comparison to their competition. Wandering around the scrap metal towns of Fallout and going through the irradiated wastelands only serves to offer 1 or 2 shades of brown and green, and it gets pretty old pretty quickly, I'd argue. There's nothing particularly exciting.
That's completely wrong. Completely wrong. Fallout 3 isn't as diverse. I think that's the right word you would use for this. It's not as diverse as Elder Scrolls. That is a good point, but she's really cutting down Fallout where it doesn't need to be cut down. I mean, Fallout's still good in this regard. Fallout 3, I think, out of the Fallout games is the best atmosphere. It's the one where everybody's like, oh, it's just green and brown, but I think those people only played it for like a short amount of time. They didn't really explore. It's not just green and brown. Sure, that's what it mostly is, because, it's the apocalypse. They tried to make it look apocalyptic, but in Fallout 3, there's areas where it's got the green skies and then the brown ground, but then there's cities that have lots of torn down houses, and there's sometimes the sky is gray, and there's different environments throughout Fallout 3 you can go to. And I think she's kind of shortening it down by saying it's just different shades of green and brown, because it can look really beautiful. Fallout 3 can look really amazing if you get to certain parts. I know I'm not explaining it well, but then Fallout New Vegas has this sandstorm look. It's it's got the orange dirt, the orange sand kind of ground. I think it's dirt, sand, whatever. It's got a very Nevada look. She's kind of wrong. Each environment is different. They just don't put that many environments into one game. Each game is supposed to explore a new environment. Elder Scrolls is the same thing, but their environments are more diverse themselves. But this is supposed to be realistic. It's supposed to be based on real life. So obviously, there's not a lot they can do in that regard. And then Fallout 4 has nice blue skies, and it tries to look too pretty, I'd say, because sometimes the sky gets this orange when the sun's rising. It's mostly the blue sky. Then they try to make the nights look beautiful. It tries to look almost too good. And then each game has its own DLC, and all the DLCs have their own environments that look nice in their own ways. Like in Fallout 3, there's Point Lookout, which is a really swampy look. It's like a swamp area for Fallout. And then there's Nuka World in Fallout 4, which is the huge amusement park area that looks a little different than the other games. So I think she's kind of wrong here.
Or breathtaking with the environment of Fallout, not at least in the same way as there is for the Elder Scrolls. The games in that series range from beautiful snowy mountains to little green dells to horrible shadowy caves full of spiders and every sort of grotty bog and wonderful field and meadow in between. There is so much variety.
Fallout 3 has variety in its buildings too. There's torn down houses, but then there's buildings, there's caves, there's vaults. The vaults are the biggest selling point. If you want to say, somebody wants to argue that Fallout has really cool indoor environments. It's not really an environment. I guess it is an indoor environment. The indoors I feel so retarded right now because I don't know what you call an indoor area. I feel really dumb. I'm not doing good at defending Fallout, but I'm just saying there's lots of cool buildings in Fallout you can go into. And I think she's wrong on that.
What I'm trying to say is that the Elder Scrolls is truly beautiful to behold in its range, whereas Fallout really only offers one brand of thing. It's green and brown. Two brands of thing if you want to get picky.
Not right at all. It's not green and brown. Fallout 3 is green and brown. Fallout 1 and 2 is I'd say more brownish. Fallout New Vegas is this cool orange kind of in blue. And then Fallout 4 is more brown and blue. So green and brown, that's not really an accurate thing to say. I feel like she's more attacking Fallout 3 than any of the other Fallout games. I feel like she just played the first couple hours of Fallout 3, and that's all she knows about Fallout. But I'm acting like she's the one that's experienced. I think she's just the talk person for what culture in this video. I think somebody else wrote what she says. I don't know.
Fallout is obviously rooted in fictional history, but it's one that resembles our own closely enough to make it all that closer to home. As much as you'd think that would make it more accessible and interesting, all it does is alienate an audience who aren't used to all these American landscapes or particularly interested in them.
What are you talking about? Because if somebody isn't familiar with American landscapes, what are you saying? Are you saying people are familiar with Elder Scrolls landscapes? I don't understand that argument. That's a dumb thing
Whilst
to
we
say.
get the effect of a parallel history, and it is a sight to behold, the separation from everyday life is something that the Elder Scrolls excels in, as it really is an escape into an entirely new world. This works.
That I can understand, wanting to escape real life through fiction. But Fallout is supposed to be sort of the medium on that. It's what if our real world became fiction in itself is a really cool idea. That's one of the best things about apocalyptic games, is that it's taking something familiar and then distorting it. And you're only explaining why you're right. You're not really saying anything good, or you're not defending Fallout at all, and that's not a good way to do an argument. An argument isn't supposed to be completely one-sided. It's supposed to be fair, I'd say. I know some people probably have a different idea of what an argument is than I do, but I think you should, at least talk about some things that make Fallout better, but she doesn't do that.
It's better for some than it does for others, but for the sake of truly immersive gameplay, a whole new world and things that are unknown to be able to explore seems far more appealing. Well, at least to me. Why is any of this important? Well, by looking at the offerings of the Elder Scrolls so far, and the enormity of Tamriel, not to mention the entirety of Nirn, it seems that Fallout has put itself into a little bit of a box.
I just found a good defense, too, for why each game's different. Fallout 3 is a more, sci-fi movie approach, where it's just being old 50s, 60s sci-fi movies. But then Fallout New Vegas explores more Western-type movies, things that things that fit the setting, Nevada. So they go through more Western roots. They got, all these guns that are inspired by cowboy movies. They got, dust storms. They have characters with cowboy hats. There's cowboy robots. It's just a really, Western-y style with lots of 50s country kind of music. I think it's country. And then in Fallout 4, you have a lot of... In Fallout 4, you have more... it has a... not LA. It has a noir. It has a noir feeling to it. It goes because there's more detectives. There's a detective robot. There's mob inspired characters. There's they replaced the 10mm SMG with this Tommy gun. It's clearly more inspired by old noir films. So there is lots of variety in Fallout. They find ways to have it be in America, but still have tons of variety, and I think that's respectable, but you're kind of crapping on that.
We already know what we're getting when it comes to new releases, which is irradiated wastelands of America. And even if they move to the rest of the world and have a look at all the exciting prospects that holds, which they should definitely do, it's still going to be more of the same. Everywhere's been bombed with a nuclear bomb. It's not going to be that much different. Then we move on to lore.
Yeah, but have you seen how many types of apocalyptic movies there are? There's so much you can do. Because Fallout explores zombie apocalypse. It explores nuclear apocalypse. It explores what it's like for it. There's ghouls. There's radiation that's getting into people. There's just so many possibilities within apocalypse. I could say the same thing about Elder Scrolls, saying, oh, it's a fantasy game, so they can't do much. It's not like they can have all kinds of cool technology, or they can get much better. It's just going to be medieval stuff, and dragons, and orcs, and stuff we've seen a million times in fantasy. I could say the same exact thing about Elder Scrolls if I wanted to. Not a good argument, in my opinion.
Practically overflowing with this stuff, the Elder Scrolls has books, artifacts, rumours, all sorts of random things cropping up all throughout the game that you can engage with as much or as little as you like. Fallout of course provides these things as well, but definitely not to the same intricate degree. And it lets you get involved with the socio-economic politics of the whole place, but literally the Elder Scrolls just absolutely blows it out of the water when it comes to books and books and books on the whole history of the place. Importantly, I'd argue that the newness of Fallout and its relevance to our...
She's completely wrong. Completely wrong. Her argument here is, oh, there's books in Elder Scrolls, so you can see more of the history through books. Yeah, you can't read the books in Fallout, But that's what the terminals are for. They're little computers that give you information. They can tell you stuff about the history, or they can tell you about certain characters in the game. They let you unlock things. They give you little hints as to what you could do to figure stuff out. The terminals serve... I can say they don't serve as much as the books in Elder Scrolls, but they still serve quite a bit. Like, barely any difference. There's barely a difference between the terminals and the books from Elder Scrolls. The terminals serve lots of information, and she glossed over that, really. She was like, oh, yeah, but Fallout doesn't serve to the same degree. She didn't even bring up why Fallout doesn't compare. She didn't mention why. She just said, books. Elder Scrolls has books.
Own timeline kind of serves to its detriment. Unlike the Elder Scrolls, the world in Fallout has been around for only a fraction of the time in the grand scheme of things, in which new ways of life have had to be established fairly quickly. The Elder Scrolls already has thousands of years of lore under its belt from an entirely fictional world built from the ground up. That's totally accessible and ready to be expanded upon. There are even places like Sovngarde and the Daedric Realm should the mortal planes prove too boring to mess around in. There's less establishing time for fans of the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, but Fallout is trying to serve a story that's within this short amount of time. It's trying to give out lots of information that you can witness with your eyes instead of reading in a book. You know, they don't want to skip so many years ahead and then just have a book that explains what happened within all that time. They want to show you what happens every couple 10 years maybe. Sometimes it's 100 years. They're trying to show you with your eyes, because it is a visual medium, you know?
Scrolls, as those who know everything will very easily be able to get into it, and those who aren't bothered can just literally slip into the easy fantasy of the whole place. There's not really much explaining to go on, and you can have it as casual or as intense as you like. Fallout.
That's not true. When I play Elder Scrolls, I have no clue what's going on. That's just probably me being dumb, but I think, like, Fallout is just so much easier to grasp. I can understand it so much easier, which you could actually argue Elder Scrolls is better in that regard, that you need a big brain. You need big brain. But you didn't do that. You tried to make Elder Scrolls seem easier to understand, which it is not. I think Fallout's way easier to understand because it's more realistic. It takes a more realistic approach. I can understand it. I can tell what's going on because I live in America. But Elder Scrolls, I have no clue. I just don't understand what's going on because it's so foreign. Like, it's so foreign that I can't grasp it. So I'm just like, ooh, look, a mud crab. Ooh, look, a dragon. Which says more about me than it does Elder Scrolls. I'm an idiot. I don't understand fantasy all that much. And it's hard for me to get into fantasy because I never know what's happening. I don't know the politics of Elder Scrolls. I don't know what they're fighting for. There's a guy that comes up to me and goes, Greymane or Battleborn? I go, Battleborn. He's like, oh, you're cool with me, pal. And I'm like, yeah, Battleborn must be great. I don't know what's going on.
On the other hand, needs contextualizing a lot. Obviously, Fallout's world is interesting. I am not denying that at all. It's a really cool idea and it's one that's fun to explore, but the longevity of the series isn't the same as the Elder Scrolls, and the more they try and build on it, it just doesn't stand up to the same sort of standard that the Elder Scrolls has. Part of this might be Bethesda's coming into it quite late, but still, arguably the most important difference in these two franchises is their personality and your ability to be able to impose your own idealized gameplay onto the established universes. At the heart of it, the key...
There's a lot of different gameplay styles you could do for Fallout. It's like in Elder Scrolls. In Elder Scrolls, you can be a Khajiit, you could be an Argonian. Although, in modern Elder Scrolls, it doesn't matter as much what species you want to be, because in Morrowind, they really explored it. Like, there was things that Argonians could do that other creatures can't do. There were things that Khajiits could do that other species couldn't do. But in Fallout, you can be a sniper, you can be a mercenary, you can be a member of the Brotherhood of Steel, or you can be a vampire. In Fallout 3, you can be a vampire. There's all kinds of cool things you can do. I mean, in Elder Scrolls, you can be a vampire and a werewolf too, yeah. But Fallout tries to take a more realistic approach with all that jazz. But there's still lots of different ways you can play the game. You can almost be anyone in Fallout that was, like, from a movie. You can play almost any movie character you ever wanted. Just make them in the game. And then you can explore it the way you think they would explore it. I like to do that.
Choice between the Elder Scrolls and Fallout is whether you like manipulating worlds or manipulating individual experience, and there's a wealth of different things to be able to be gleaned from both of those options. Fallout is a game of taking what you can from the world around you. It's about exploring, establishing settlements, wading through irradiated lands, taking on radiation, fixing yourself from it, going back out there and getting some more. It's about what the world inflicts upon you and how you deal with it and how you...
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. She's right. Fallout is more of a game where you can affect the world around you, and Elder Scrolls is more of a game where you affect your character specifically. You're more trying to build up your character, and Fallout you're trying to build up the world. I understand that, I think. Maybe I don't. But I agree. But I prefer that. I prefer a game where I can have a huge impact on the story. My decisions affect the story. I don't really feel that in Elder Scrolls. I don't feel like I'm making decisions in Elder Scrolls. I feel like I'm going down I feel like I'm going hiking. You know, I feel like I'm going hiking in the woods, and then it's like, oh, there's this path, and this path. I'll go down this path. But in Fallout, it feels like I'm exploring space. There's just so much around me. There's no specific lines to take. There's just this infinite space. I don't know.
You can make your own path within that world as well. You're a survivor amongst other survivors where everyone is fending for themselves. So it's not really a case of being the chosen one or a special little guy. It's a case of you surviving. That's the heart of it. Survive. Survive in a horrible, nasty, post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Scrolls, on the other hand, is about individual experience. There's already an established civilization and all these things where there's hierarchies and monarchies and various different things that make it quite easy to slip into as an individual character. And in this case...
Well, yeah, that's how it works in Fallout 2. There's the Brotherhood of Steel, there's the Enclave, there's the Institute, there's lots of paths to go down. There's the Railroad, you know. There's lots of settlements in Fallout that you can slip into, and you can choose which ones you like more than others. There's the NCR. There's lots of places to go. There's lots of people to team up with. It's really easy to get into for me. It's way easier for me to get into than Elder Scrolls, because in Elder Scrolls I don't know where to go first. I don't know what direction to go. I don't know where to go other than where the story takes me. I only know how to follow the story in Elder Scrolls. I have a hard time getting into side quests and finding out more about specific places. It's just kind of more confusing for me to grasp.
You are the chosen one, after all. Combat is deeply personal rather than conducted through the VAT system. You customise from 10 races down to your very birth sign and follow a narrative that stems from what personality you want to project onto the gameplay. There's a difference between the two in that one is a world and one is a personal experience, and whilst both do mesh and cross over, that is a key difference between the two games. It's up to you. Fight trolls, nuke giants, or do neither. The world of gaming is exactly what you want to take from it, and whilst I am certifiably Dragons over Deathclaw's son, you might have a completely different opinion. Of course this falls
Dragons over Deathclaws is like, I know she's joking, but Dragons over Deathclaws is a comparison that doesn't work. Because dragons are a specifically Skyrim thing, while Deathclaws are in every Fallout game. Like, Deathclaws are like the scary face of Fallout, but dragons are not the face of Elder Scrolls. Even though it is the logo is like that diamond-shaped dragon, but I don't know. They're not really comparable in that sense, because every Elder Scrolls game is supposed to be like way different than the last one. Each one is like its own little, feels like its own little world. While every Fallout game you go, oh yeah, this is like the last one, which could have been a good argument actually. You could have really argued for Elder Scrolls.
Down to exactly what you want from a game too. It's just undeniable that the Elder Scrolls 6 will offer something completely game-changing in whatever setting it comes across in. There is so much scope for this game and so many possibilities that it is eye-watering to think about. Again, I should stress that I am a fantasy fangirl. You might be a science fiction bitch. that is fine. Either is fine. Both are fantastic. I love science fiction too. There is stuff to be gained from both of them. But The Elder Scrolls is a fantastic game, and in my opinion, it definitely pushes its weight above Fallout, offering beautiful landscapes, intricate personal storytelling, and thousands of years worth.
Yeah, there is probably more. There is more in Elder Scrolls than there is Fallout, though. That is true, because Skyrim, not Skyrim, but Elder Scrolls is Bethesda's baby. Fallout is a baby kidnapped and tries to raise as its own. But it's not really good to compare the two. They're just so different that I think Elder Scrolls as a game is better, but Fallout as a story is better. I just prefer Fallout, and I think Fallout's a better RPG game, because I just feel like building my character is better. I feel like making decisions is more important in Fallout, while in Elder Scrolls, it's the traditional kind of RPG, what you would expect out of an RPG game. I think we need more decision-based games. I don't think we have enough games where you get to choose what happens. And the games we do have really suck, because, I mean, I like Walking Dead. I like all the Telltale games. I like the Fallout games, but in Fallout, I think the decisions matter, but in Telltale games, your decisions don't really matter. Nothing really changes, but yeah.